This piece of Lisa is being brought to you by Mutual Security Credit Union. Find out more at mscu.com. Well, I've been talking for the last hour about financial news, and if you missed the headline that is of concern to me, it's that Bank New York Mellon has decided that it will charge its large corporate depositors money. It will charge them money to keep the money in their account. In other words, they feel that too many people are hoarding cash, and this is crazy. They feel imposed upon because that money can be taken out at will. And so because of that, they're charging a fee. And Sheila Bair, the former head of the FDIC, is saying that she's not surprised. She thinks other people will do it. If that isn't the craziest thing, when is the last time you ever thought that you were imposing upon a bank by giving them the privilege, in other words, that they could charge you for having your money? They're supposed to be paying you interest on your money. You're doing them a favor. They're not doing you a favor. You're doing them a favor. Otherwise, you could put the money in the mattress. Right? I mean, otherwise, why not put your money in the mattress? Why would you put it in a bank if they're going to take something out of it? It's just so ass backwards insane. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that. We talked about that a little bit, but I want to tell you this because I see this as one of these demarcation lines in the sand that tells me in a way that nothing else has just how serious our financial crisis is. And it's funny. It hasn't been the volume of foreclosures, the volume of unemployment claims, the fact that real estate sales are so low as to be abysmal and the only people around are sharks and vultures for distress foreclosures. It hasn't been those kind of statistics. I guess it's because I'm an incurable optimist, and I felt that a recovery would eventually be here and things would sort of settle back to normal. It hasn't even been the staggering deficits and all the fights in Washington, D.C. But the headline that has me believing that things have taken such a fundamental turn for the worse, far more than I can even see, because believe me, I'm no George Soros, I'm no seer. I'm no Michael Bloomberg. I'm no great financial anything. I'm an average person who reads the newspapers just like you. But when I read that the Bank of New York, BNY Mellon, is charging its large corporate depositors a fee to keep the money for them, I have to say that something is so fundamentally corrupted, something so fundamentally upended, upside down, that I feel like we're in Alice in Wonderland right now. And you can listen to other talk radio hosts who love to blame President Obama for all our problems. And there's no question that leadership counts. And there's no question that the government has a huge impact on so many things, big and small. But it isn't just the fault of one man. It isn't. It's a cumulative fault of a generation of leadership and a generation of people like us, who thought that we had an unending standard of living, who thought we could keep spending money that we didn't have, who elected people to Congress that are incredibly irresponsible and allowed them to have decisions which didn't have any consequences. It's no good just blaming one person. We've got to look at ourselves and we've got to change. And change is difficult. But if we don't understand that we are also part of the problem, then we can't fix it. Because as much as we would like to have one person be the Messiah, okay, and it was scary when President Obama was elected. I was scared. I actually had a listener call to the show and tell me he really thought that he was like Jesus Christ. Excuse me. And by the way, Jesus Christ is not even my Messiah, but you know what I'm saying. Nobody, no person on the face of this earth can solve all of our problems. No person can be blamed for them, and no person can solve all of them. We want to say that it's the lowest rate of approval in history for Congress, a bare 22%, but does that mean we're going to actually appoint better people? Do we feel that the government is fundamentally corrupt? I'm going to tell you that when I have a conversation with people about this, it comes down to fairness and equity in so many ways. And I want to look at General Electric because General Electric is based in Fairfield County, and they are a bellwether in the past of American invention, enterprise, innovation, right? Imagination come to life. We have always been very proud of GE. Am I right? And then we find out in the last year that they have spent $53 million on lobbyists in Washington, D.C., and that their spending effort has been so effective that the tax code was rewritten with exceptions for General Electric, so that when the story broke a couple of months ago that GE Corporation paid 0 income taxes in the last year, it was staggering, but not to those in the know. To you and me, shocking. To people in the know, not so much. They bought and paid for that. And then we see Jeffrey Immelt, the head of GE, standing side by side President Obama as his new right-hand guy for economic development and trying to chastise other corporations how they shouldn't outsource. And you want to vomit at the hypocrisy and corruption of all of them. If Jeffrey Immelt wanted to put his money where his mouth was, he wouldn't have so many offshore tax havens to evade U.S. income taxes. He wouldn't be outsourcing so much of American labor overseas. And President Obama wouldn't be allowing him to get away with it. It's so... And you think the Republicans are any better? They're the ones pushing, instead of looking at conservation in this country as a decent way for energy planning, they're the ones pushing that, no, we should have more oil and gas resources extinguished, more hydro fracking done so that we can do shortcuts and we can take all these chemically infested waters and take the shale out of rocks and ignore the fact that almost every time we've been doing it, contrary to Exxon CEO's assertion, there has been pollution and contamination in fresh water. And fresh water, as you and I know, is a minuscule amount of the water on this planet. We cannot afford to taint our fresh water. It is too important a resource. It is too fundamental, just like air, for us to live and sustain life on this planet. So the corruption and the inner goings on and the allegiances and the hypocrisies, they are fundamentally discouraging and depressing. And, you know, I had a guest on the show a little while ago who just came off the plane from Israel, who's talking about 10 cities that are emerging overnight to protest rising gasoline prices of over $8 a gallon in Israel. I guess we should be lucky for $4 a gallon in the United States. And so far, peaceful protests. And we have a political protest in the Arab world that is mostly emerging from the fact that they have hordes of unemployed young men. Hordes. 25% in some of the economies of people that can't get a job, and they're young men full of testosterone, full of hatred, full of longing for a life that they see on the television set that they know that they cannot attain. So we've got enormous amounts of potential disruption. We have 7 billion people on the planet, estimated to be 10 billion by the year 2100, not so long away. Okay, another 3 billion. How are we going to fit? How are we going to deal with this? A lot of these problems seem insurmountable. They do. You wake up in the morning and they seem like you can't fix them. But I'm telling you, I believe this with my whole heart and soul, that at least right now in America, we still have a government that responds to activism. And even though the Tea Party is being vilified by a lot of the people in the media, I don't go there. You will never hear me vilify the Tea Party on this program ever, in private or personal or public life, because I admire that they took the American system of organizing and they got candidates who shared their opinion and they elected them into office. That's the way you're supposed to do things. It's not radical. It's fundamental democracy. And I think they've done a great job. I'm very sorry that the Tea Party allowed itself to be co-opted by one political party. I was hoping that they would emerge as a third party that was looking only for fiscal responsibility and stayed away from social issues. I was hoping they would be more fundamentally libertarian in terms of not wanting to align with either Republicans or Democrats and just look at what was broken in Washington, D.C. and state governments in terms of spending money we don't have. Unfortunately, they had more in common with Republicans than Democrats fiscally, at least so they thought. And so the leaders of the Tea Party allowed their movement to be co-opted by the Republican establishment. It's a shame, but it makes me admire them no less. I think it was a lost opportunity. I really do. I don't think they'll have the opportunity again. They've lost too much of the faith and confidence of the large majority of American people who see them as only sort of to the right wing of the Republican Party. It's not what they started out being, and they shouldn't have stayed that way. But that's, that's the way I see it. You're listening to the Lisa Wexler Show at 203-845-3044. Would you like to talk a little bit about how you see the big picture and President Obama and government leadership fitting into the big picture? I'm a big picture girl. I am. I like to try and step back and see the forest for the trees. I can't be in front of the microphone today and say to you that everything looks Pollyanna like I'd like to. It is a beautiful day, however, and if you have arms and legs and lungs that work, you can go out and take a walk and enjoy it. And if you can't, maybe somebody can push you in your wheelchair so you too can enjoy it. We have to at least enjoy the fact that we are here. We have to say little prayers of gratefulness every single day that we live in the United States of America, where people can still get on the radio, anonymous or otherwise, call into a show like this at 203-845-3044, and you can say what's on your mind without fear of retribution, without fear of a KGB, without fear of a China censorship, without fear of being hauled into jail. So we have to be grateful for that. And by the way, that's not a little thing. That's a lot. That's a lot. You've just been listening to A Piece of Lisa. If you'd like to listen to the whole 2-hour show, please go to lisawexler.com, where all shows are archived. And do follow me on Twitter at Lisa Wexler. Thanks for listening.